50-some thousand payment you said goes away after this year, because the math that had up there is off the 407, not the 470.
I was gonna say the problem is gonna be from a levy standpoint, you're back to where you are, because the debt service falling off means that you would have to issue, just because the amount is in there, we would have to, like, if it's full tilt general tax, that's one thing. If we go in low, assume that the 50,000 is gonna come out of debt service, that doesn't get built back into the levy automatically, because
You'd have to borrow on it.
you would essentially have to issue it as new debt service, or go back again and say, okay, well, we've retired to 50, now we wanna increase it by the 50, and do the same mechanism, all, potentially all over again.
Have we gotten all the information we need to know about lines of credit?
I did check
Because lines of credit, you don't have to, you can, it's there if you need it. But if we use it for I'm picking a figure for the 250 and 24, this is hypothetical only. If we had $1 million line of credit and we took 250,000 of it for 24, okay, we don't necessarily have to pull from that in 25. We might not need to, we might have to go to 26, or we pull in 24, 25, and we don't have to in 26. Line of, versus a loan, you're taking money out today, and you're paying that off over a 5 or 10 year period.
That's the piece of it that the last firm wanted, the last audit, and do financials and all that kind of stuff, and the problem that I see with that is that given the timeline of decision making, to my point earlier, is that that's gonna be a whole another process to walk through from what is it, because I mean, for us to give them an audit from last year and go through the whole like, we're not gonna have that answer by the time that we need to figure out what.
No, but if we went, you're right.
Yeah.
So if what we propose, what we end up proposing at the budget approval meeting contains some levy increase and some debt service, that debt service could be in the form of a loan or a line of credit, and at the point of the outcome, we've got time then to determine which way we wanna go with it.
Yeah, that was in a nutshell what
What you're trying to say.
So the only problem that I'm seeing with this fancy little tool I've been playing with the past couple of meetings here is that this thing instantly wants to put all of the money towards 3s and 4s to cut it off, because it inherently knows that the cost of reconstruction becomes greater. So when I'm playing with lower and lower and lower amounts, and it keeps driving up reconstruct, and it keeps taking off mill and overlays and shifting them towards the maintenance, because maintenance long-term.
But that's, and maybe this is where you're going, but those are the ones we could get grants for.
Correct, and realistically, so is it, in my own mind, finding a blend of 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 would be absolutely spectacular for this tool to be able to do, but it doesn't. It puts it at the point of where you get the best bang for your buck and your return long-term over the lifespan of the roads, is it's dumping it all into, I shouldn't say all into, but looking at where these charts have all been trending, it keeps sticking it into the maintenance plus mill and overlay, the maintenance plus mill and overlay, the maintenance plus mill and overlay, and some of these mills and overlays we would potentially be grant eligible too. So it doesn't, I'm not gonna be able to puke a number out that says, here's the lowest maintenance need, because it's taking our inventory and dividing that cost out amongst the highest ranked.
So I think what you're
You know what
saying
I'm
is we could go lower and take care of this stuff, but we're rolling the dice on whether we get grants or not.
Yeah, and then inherently your cost.
And if we don't get the grants, then those roads are more expensive to fix, and there's more of them, et cetera, right?
Yeah. So like, here's 250, we're at 10 and a half. And if I went down to 225, it still makes this 0, but that makes it reconstructs 12.5% of our inventory. So it drives that piece of it up, and I can't.
It looks like the sweet spot for, just from what I've seen, it looks like the sweet spot number to improve across the board is somewhere between 250 and 3.
275.
And again, how do we want to approach approach this? Do we wanna, to me, if we came up with one goal, and one goal only, it would be to include our annual maintenance needs into the budget,
Mhm.
because we don't have $600,000 laying around to be able to reconstruct a road. Like, we don't have that option. We got zero money in the bank and we've got zero money in the budget, so we can't pull from anywhere other than two sources, so.
Laura, can you scroll down to expenses for maintenance and construction?
It's the bank.
No, I read it, the income stays at the top. So right now, we only, are you saying we should move that 300 from construction to maintenance?
No, I'm
That's what
sorry.
I'm saying.
Accounting principles and categorizing versus, and we've got I know these are expense accounts, but to me, the majority of what we have, other than that highway and street construction, those are operation expenses, right? Like you're patching, okay, some of it's maintenance, but to me, it's either operations or capital. And in that line item, she's got highlighted, to me, is the capital. And the capital would be road work of
So-
some size, shape, flavor, whatever.
So should we take that 300,000 and split it, or split in some fashion between the two, or is it 6 of one, half a dozen of the other?
But, we don't have a $4 million budget where we're gonna try to track what it is. I mean, we're more or less, we're gonna have to come up with a mix of
Okay.
surface work plus.
Right. Well, what do you wanna do? It's 9:40 almost. Do you wanna move on to the other ones, or table those, or what do you wanna do?
Well,
It's on the agenda, I think we should take some.
action,
Especially number 2, I think.
okay, so we're gonna be back here for our budget tomorrow night,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Do we ever need a
Before,
motion?
well, hold on, before we get out of this, what are you gonna check on, Laura? You're gonna check on,
The spreadsheet.
With the county.
Yeah,
okay, and then just re-email me one more time,
the
that Commissioner
Commissioner of
Public
Public
Lands.
Lands.
I'll call right away,
Okay.
okay, on that, 8 or 9, whatever they open. Please. Yeah, so we meet here at 6, we need to have that figure in our head of what we wanna start with.
Well, I think while we're waiting for Laura, we can talk about what we said. What number are we gonna agree on for roads? And then we can talk about how do we wanna roll it out. I think we're in agreement, it's not all gonna be levy, it's not all gonna be
What-
debt service. What are we comfortable presenting? We can have those discussions while we're waiting for Laura, right?
Okay. Move forward?
Do we need a motion to table the old business till tomorrow night, or that just?
No, because we've already posted that we're continuing.
And we do have item, new business number 1 on the agenda for tomorrow, correct?
Well, it's actually old business then.
Oh, well,
Yeah, yes,
our current new business number 1 is on the agenda for tomorrow.
yes.
Okay, then I would make a motion that we table item number 1 under new business until we meet tomorrow.
There's a motion to table under new business, item 1, until tomorrow. Is there a second?
I second
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Number 2, discussion and possible action of filing a 2023 LRIP application for the town of Palmyra.
Bear with me a minute, I'm trying to sort through a month's worth of.
that. Minutes are getting more expensive right now.
Sorry, so 9, 12, that's all tonight, this goes with this. Talked about it earlier tonight, long and short of it is that the town of Palmyra is up for, what I referred to as oh god, hang on. Entitlement funds, sorry. For the upcoming cycle, there's currently $124,581.98 that has been allocated to the county's fund that gets split amongst the towns. Historically, the process has been to take the towns and divide it amongst the group, which would include this coming cycle. If the back up a step, there's also a committee that was formed at this meeting, made up of representatives of the towns from the county. They will review the applications that are submitted, they will rank them, and they will allocate the funding. Historically, what has happened is that money has been divided equally amongst the cyclical towns, okay? So our cycle includes Concord, Koshkonong, Falmouth, and Waterloo, which means we would end up with
Just a quarter of that.
$31,145.49 if tradition holds. I can tell you that for at least 9 years, that has been, that has been continued. Prior to that, I don't know entirely, but what we have to do is we have to come up with a project that would be submitted. There's an application form, there's a narrative that would have to go with it. And then we essentially have an option. One of two things is, well, I shouldn't say that. We apply for the funding. Let's say we wanted it as a project, we can do that. We can change it at some point in time in the future. If we went into the application with getting hot mix purchase only, obviously that means that cost of the asphalt goes down. We could have the county do it, we could bid it, however it would work out. I did get a hold of Greg, actually emailed him on Saturday, he replied to me today. He's looking for a little more specifics on the size, shape, and flavor of the road to be able to give us a ballpark of if we went hot mix purchase, what their cost would be to construct. But he needs something more than, hey, do you have a cost? Because again, the more you do, the cheaper per unit, per square yard it would get, all those kinds of things. But long and short of it is that the money has a sunset of 2029, yes. Has a sunset of 2029, so if we get awarded, again, anticipating it would be the summer of 2024, that we would see state municipal agreement, blah, 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 that we could use it 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Any construction year for that project, we have a one-time change that we can do where we could say, well, instead of doing Tamarack, we wanna do Marsh, or instead of doing Marsh, we wanna do whatever, pick a road.
This question doesn't have anything to do whether we need to apply or not, we do. Question is, so this wouldn't be funds for 24, there'd be funds for 25, 26.
Unless you wanted to bid it summertime and try to get it done by the end of winter, to me, that would be time and effort ahead if we looked at this funding be available for 2024, for 2025.
Do you have a project in mind?
Well, we have plenty that we could go through. Marsh, I already talked about Tamarack. To me, those are two of them that are probably the most traveled highways and byways that we have that need funding. From that aspect, we've got a bunch of other roads that I think we could get away with surface work, like seal, that type of thing.
Does it all have to be spent on the same road?
It does not, but we would have to break those segments out accordingly. And again, we're talking about $31,000 of funding. That is a 50-50 match, so we would have to come up with $31,000 to make a $63,000 project.
And if we have our budget for 25, let's pick a number of 300,000, that could be the match.
Absolutely,
Right.
yeah.
So what is your, let's say, possible action tonight? Are you asking us, should we apply? Are you asking us, should we apply and this is the project? When's the application deadline?
November 1st.
So it's coming up,
I've got 2 weeks to do this, yes.
all right? So,
My suggestion would be is that if you're interested in it, I will call a highway committee meeting at some point in the mix here and discuss priority rank and essentially relay that information back again with the fact that we've got a one-time change. I mean, if we're not here in 2 years, then so be it. Somebody else can pick what they want to
Right.
apply the road funding to. It doesn't necessarily matter as long as it's a Trans 204 compliant project where, again, like I talked about, Sherwin Lane is not that road. You know,
No.
all that type of thing.
I make a motion that we apply for the application for the town of Palmyra and have the highway committee meet to suggest a project to put into the application.
Motion's been made to file for the LRIP application and have the highway committee meet and use their discretion on where those funds should go. Correct?
Second.
Who seconded it?
Nobody
Never
yet.
yet.
Nobody yet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes. I'm fine with it, I'm just clarifying what you repeated back. Do you need to, the highway, do you need to come back to the three of us
No.
and approve the project, or are you able to just, the committee decide, and I'm good either way, and the committee decide and that's the project you apply for?
Whatever you wanna do.
Then I'm fine with the way you proposed the motion.
And I'll restate it one more time. There's been a motion and a second to apply for the 2023 LRIP application and to have a highway meeting and at the highway committee's discretion, use it on the road that's needed most,
Apply for it.
apply for. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Aye. I need a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you both